It's the Hook Podcast, episode number 2. Raleigh and KJ hanging out with you today. Thanks for joining us. And boy, do we have a good one for you today.
I'm excited, man. This guest he's so different. I can't put my finger on it. And there's a few artists that come to mind, and I feel like that's not fair. So I'll let him just kind of explain who he is and where he comes from and his influences.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited to have Raleigh Keegan on the podcast today. Let's jump in with Raleigh. Don't forget, make sure to like and subscribe to us on YouTube. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Music. If you can't find us quite yet, we apologize. We're trying to go through all of the processes, but you can always check us out on YouTube and at thehookpod.com. You're saying it's cold in Nashville. The dog's freaking out, but you're COVID negative. So it's a good day. How are you, man?
I'm COVID negative. I have beat the COVID as far as I know. My dog Huckleberry here, I'm sorry if he freaks out, but he's what we call, he's special. He's a
we're a dog friendly show, so
absolutely
it's all good.
Good. Yeah, it's cold here. But you know, it's nice. It's not a yucky day. It's not like there's still some sun. So thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. And, you know, a big thing about our podcast here is that we want to bring on songwriters and artists and people that people may not know. There's so much of Nashville that is not on country radio. And you are one of those people, but man, you are killing it. And we'll go into some of my favorite stuff about you and kind of how you and I got connected. But let's start with, how did you end up in Nashville?
Okay, so I played college football and got I got an exercise science degree. And so right after college, I was a personal trainer for like a year or two, but I always played music. Like I grew up, parents got me piano, played jazz trombone. Little known fact
Nice.
for the Hook podcast that a lot of people don't know is that I was first chair in the state of Ohio in jazz trombone. So, but I was like the weirdo that was like stuck in a football player's body type of thing. And so I was a personal trainer, and during my lunch breaks, I would write songs, and I just couldn't quit it. Like I listened to Zach Brown Band's record Uncaged, and that like got me into country music for the first time. And that record got me into like Eric Church, and to Stapleton, and to Miranda Lambert, and to like Kenny Chesney, and all of the really good country, Willie Nelson. But yeah, like that, I just became obsessed. Like on my lunch breaks, I wrote like 80 songs in 6 months, and they all sucked, of course.
Wow.
But I mean, I just could not shake it. I could not shake. Like once I heard that Zach Brown Band record, I was just like, it was over. It was over. That was all I was doing. And that's all I thought about. So I sucked at being a personal trainer. I was like teaching people squat form while thinking about like an organ solo. So it's like, I was horrible at it. I started to become horrible at my job. And so I was just like, okay, I'm quitting. So I told my wife, I was like, I'm out. And so put my 2 weeks notice in, and all of a sudden we had a mortgage, and we had to figure out how we're going to pay this mortgage with music. And so I worked like 12, 16-hour days, booking myself all over the country. And for a year toured out of Lexington, Kentucky, and just paid our bills, barely getting by. And I was just like, okay, if this is really going to happen, like we're going to have to make this move. We're going to have to get to Nashville, because like that's where it's going down. And so we sold our house. We sold our house to pay for a record, and sold our house, paid for this record that, you know, and it did well, and it like opened a ton of doors for me. And that was like how I got to Nashville. Now I wouldn't recommend like everyone just goes and sells their house. I really wouldn't recommend that. But we were very fortunate, and it's kind of been a crazy journey since then. You learn a lot when you first move to town, and I moved there, and I've been there, I guess now almost 3 years. So
Wow.
That's awesome. Congratulations on your success in Nashville. It's Ooh, it's so competitive right now. It seems like everybody is good. Everybody that's coming up can write. Everybody's creative. It's kind of funny when I was listening to your music, I wrote down a note. I said that you reminded me of a country Billy Joel. And then I
That's
did
right.
some crack research and ended up finding out that that's one of your biggest influences.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I grew up on Billy Joel. Like that's what
Fantastic.
yeah,
50
that was
Second
like one
Street,
of my,
man. Great. I love
yeah, I
Billy
love
Joel.
that. So thanks for saying that.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm letting Huckleberry out.
You're good.
Keep going. I'm listening.
Right on. So you don't really have a typical modern country sound in it. You can definitely hear your influences that are outside of that genre. So to me, you're more of a throwback. There are a lot of artists that come to mind when I hear your voice, and but where do you see yourself fitting into the landscape of current country music? Because you definitely don't have the modern sound that we're used to hearing.
Yeah. Well, okay. So maybe one way to explain this would be by saying my Enneagram. I took the Enneagram test, and I'm a 4, which means I'm an individualist. So like, um, so I think one of the things that in Nashville, when you first move to Nashville, like you get a lot of pressure to sound like other people because it makes sense, right? Like they know okay, this kind of sound works. But the more you kind of get into it, like it would be a disadvantage for me to sound like other people. So like you got to be kind of like close enough where it's like, okay, I've got a country voice, right? Like, but I think what makes music lovely for me is that when someone's like bold enough to be like, okay, this is what I find dope. I love this, and this, and then putting them all in a little pot. And then basically like, I love it when someone's bold enough to be themselves type of thing. And that's really just what I try to do. Like I I think about it less than you think. I think, do I like this? And if I like this, if I can honestly say, oh, I like this guitar tone, then I can move forward knowing that like if I do that the whole time and like and control the whole process, then I'm going to get something unique at the end of it, if that makes sense.
Love it.
So
Absolutely.
And I appreciate you saying it's kind of throwbacky, just because like I love, like that's what I love. Like I grew up on the Eagles, I grew up on James Taylor, I grew up on Billy Joel, and I just but I love modern country music too. I love that modern country music literally sounds better. The technology is better. So I think that there's just like little flares of all that stuff. And my favorite artists are the ones that just pick and choose and just do something unique. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I can say firsthand, as I've seen you at the Grizzly Rose, we didn't get to connect that night, but your show goes from, your normal stuff to you belting out Piano Man. And that's where I walked in the door and went, what in the world is going on? And I look up and I'm like, wait, I know him. We know each other through social media, but I immediately went, holy crap. And I took out my phone and I recorded it and put it on an Insta story. And I had so many people going, wait, who is that? And is that what he normally does? And I'm like, no, if you watch the rest of his show, he's playing his normal stuff, but it's not just a normal cover for you. You can tell that is an influence. It's not just a time filler. Now, how do you go through the process of that, choosing those specific songs in your live show that show off those characteristics of you?
Whew. Well, so that one for me is an easy one because I'm adopted and my parents are huge influences on me, of course. And that's my dad's favorite Billy Joel song. And when I was a kid, they drove me and my brother up to Michigan in a minivan. And we drove 8 hours up and 8 hours back to find, because they found this free upright piano. And so we drove up there, threw in the back of a Sienna minivan, and then brought it back home. And like me and my brother learned how to play on that thing.
Were you just weighed down the whole time as you guys were driving
yes,
back?
dude. Like, I mean, I don't even know how we did it. It almost
Amazing.
seems, it seems absurd now that I think about it, like absolutely absurd. But anyways, we get back, and that was like one of the first songs my dad would have me. He tried to have me learn. I mean, that took a while because that's a hard song, but yeah. Every time I go home, my dad, like for Christmas or whatever this year, I'll sing. I'll play it on the piano, and he'll sing Piano Man. So it's kind of like that, and just I just try, dude. I just try to do stuff that moves me, man. Like
Yeah.
I just simple as that. Like, oh man, this covers me. Like I just recently started covering Carolina on My Mind, that James Taylor song. I'm like, man, there's something about this song that just moves me, that stirs my soul up. So I do it. And then
Yeah.
sometimes we'll get weird and cover Country Girl Shake It For Me. And I'm feeling that. You
I
never
like it.
I think you did that night, actually, now that you say that.
I bet we did, dude. That's a good one. That's a good one for a country show. That's that'll get the
Gets
people going.
moving.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say though, you can tell the difference between a song that you just kind of toss in to get everybody up and going and a song that you passionately love and that you're damn good at playing. Because I swear, I walked in the building, you played a song, you started that, and no lie, within the 20-foot radius of me, everybody was watching the stage going, wow, that wasn't just a normal cover. And you know, we all can kind of probably attest to this. You go anywhere on Broadway, you go anywhere, you know, like I saw you at the Grizzly Rose, you see people playing that song a lot, especially if they have a piano player. But your version of it is completely different than everybody else's, but it's straight down the middle. It is the exact song, but there's so much more passion than everybody else. And I love that.
I want to hear it. That's great.
Yeah.
I'll send you the video because I have it.
Yeah. I mean, that's good. That's good to hear. I mean, you know, once again, I'm just doing stuff I like.
That's awesome. I listened to your last record, Intermission, from start to finish, and really phenomenal. Just musically, you're super talented. I think you have a really smooth country voice. It kind of, in a lot of ways, I don't just toss this out there, but it kind of reminded me of like a modern day Elvis in a way, with the tones that you have, and you can get real deep, but you have good range. I really like what you did on that record, but the singles that you put out in September way back and November, Another Good Day, man, I just feel you blew me away. Another Good Day has literally been in my head for the last 3 days. I can't stop singing it.
We were singing it before you came on.
Seriously, it is phenomenal. So what's the difference between Intermission and Where You Are? Because they're all great, but what is the biggest difference to you?
Well, okay. So Intermission, the biggest difference for me is that, bro, I made that with my friends in a basement and with two mics and a laptop. And dude, that was just like, that's what's really cool. That's what's cool about Intermission is like, it cost me like $0 to make.
Awesome.
And, but I think the guys did a good job of just capturing performances. Like, it's really cool. Like, for example, if you, this is so not Nashville, like this is so against the rules. And that's why I love it too. Is like Phase of Me. Listen to Phase of Me. At the beginning and the end of the song, you can hear my butt screeching around on a piano bench. And like, that would drive most people in Nashville just up the wall. But like, I love it because it captures a moment. But so that's Intermission. But these two, man, way back in Another Good Day, those are the first two singles of my first full-length album. There's 14 songs that are going to be coming out. And man, they're just like, I got to work with one of my dream producers. His name's Ryan Gore. He worked on all of Casey Musgraves' records, and he was nominated for Grammy and CMA this year because he was a co-producer on John Party's Heartache Medication record. And man, he just like let me do my thing. Like, and I couldn't believe it because it was like he did what a great producer does, right? He takes the individual artist, and then like, you're like, the only reason earlier you said my music sounds different, like it's got like a thing to it that you can't quite describe. It doesn't sound like other things. Well, the only reason that happens is if the producer like literally lets the artist be an artist. So like that sounds silly, but there's just so many producers that it's like, if you're going to go with this producer, you're going to get a record that sounds just like the records they've made. But Ryan was awesome because like he let me call. I mean, dude, I got one coming out that I can't believe is going to get to come out, because it sounds like if Billie Eilish did a country song.
Wow.
And it's super dark, and it's about like, I made up a story of this chick or this guy cheating on his wife, and which isn't my story, but I can't, but he let me do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he let me do Another Good Day, which like my whole team was nervous at first of Another Good Day, like how people would take it. But
It's so creative.
It's so
Yeah,
creative. Literally in
love
my
it.
notes, it says creative, sad, but insanely creative.
yeah. It is sad. It's sad, but what
But
I
it
love,
fits right now, though, and the lyric really fits right now. I really believe that every word is exactly what we're going through with COVID and the lockdowns and not being able to play music, not having music. I mean, we live, you know, I'm a huge music fan, and not having that. So I feel like that record just really speaks volumes of where we are. So I don't know when you wrote it. I don't know if you were thinking about what was going to happen in the future, but man,
here's the thing about the past 4 years is that the past 4 years has been chaotic the whole time. And I'm really not a political person. I just like am a normal freaking dude trying to make it by, dude. And but I feel like our country has been kind of going crazy for the past, I don't know how long it's been. It just feels like a long time to me. And so oddly, I think I wrote that in 2019, like late 2019. But it was already starting, man. Like just the tensions and golly, I mean, all of the stuff that's going on now. And then it's amplified by COVID, and it's amplified by, the lockdowns and all of that. But yeah. Crazy.
Let's go back to the day that you wrote that. Do you remember writing Another Good Day?
I do.
Who'd you write it with?
I wrote it with Alex Dooley and Brian Carper, and they're my buddies. And I came in and I said, listen, like I was inspired by a Casey Musgraves song. I was inspired because I was just like, I love little sarcastic like cultural commentaries.
Like was it Merry Go Round?
Merry Go Round is lovely.
Yes.
And I was just like, that's my favorite Casey Musgraves song. It's brilliant. That song's brilliant. So anyways, I was inspired by something she was doing, and I was just like, it was some guy at a gas station that was like, man, it's just another good day, but he was being sarcastic. He was being super sarcastic. He was talking about politics or something, and he was just like, it's another good day here in the USA. And I wrote that down, and I remember because my buddy Alex at the time, he was drinking a Natty Light during our writing session, a 24-ounce Natty Light, and
like a brown bag gas station special.
Yes, just something that Alex Dooley used to do. He'll laugh at this when he hears it. But he just goes, "Mama's got a hot flash, Daddy's got a cold one," and I was like, "What's that?" And so, and I was like, Sisters at it was super quick, unbelievably quick. I was just like, Sisters at Adderall, headed out to get some, and then we just went. And my favorite line of that song is when you're 9 to 5, it's the game, it's the things you hate. When you're 5 to 9, it's the games you play. I love that line. Yeah, but I remember it, and that was one of the funnest songs I've ever written, honestly.
That's awesome.
Are so many great lines in that. I honestly, like, I can't tell you, I can't get it out of my head. I've listened to it so many times because it's just really relevant, and it's really, really creative in the lyric. And I love that. It gets your brain going a little bit. And There's also a lyric in there about preachers selling what's the
Yeah.
exact line?
Preachers on TV pimping out forgiveness.
Pimping out
Yeah.
forgiveness.
So
Yeah.
I also read that you were looking into ministry before you got into music. Like
Yeah.
does that have any influence on that lyric there?
Oh, for sure. Like I'm a believer. I'm a Christian.
too.
But I what I find unfortunate is like a lot of mainstream Christianity is like these dudes, and I can honestly openly say this is really annoying, but like they'll get super popular for they're selling something like to the masses that isn't even what their religion says. And
Right.
So those I was mostly talking about the preachers that get on TV and get people to donate a bunch of money and fly around in like 10 jets.
Yep.
That's what
Wear
that line's about.
$500 sneakers.
That's right. $500 sneakers. It's like, dude, come on, man. That ain't the
Yeah.
you ain't reading the same book I'm reading.
You and I come from the
Exactly.
same world in
Yeah.
that situation. That's something that I saw KJ's face when you had made that comment, because I actually was going to go into ministry and ended up in radio, and now we're sitting here. So you and I come from that same kind of world, and that just makes me laugh just every time. As soon as I heard that, I just went, "Yep,
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Some people don't like that line. I'll be honest.
I love it. It's
do.
honest.
Love it.
That whole song, it's honest. It's truthful. That's why I think it caught me, because at first I was like, this song's really upbeat, and then I started listening to the lyrics. I'm like, wait a minute. You definitely had that dichotomy between the two of just, very different like tones. Like what you're saying is way different than what the sound of the album sounds like, or the record sounds like. So very cool, man. Good job.
Yeah, I love stuff that's happy and sad at the same time. I love that.
On this new record, you said that you were writing with some of your best friends. You also were writing with, big Nashville writers, throughout your first record and then this record. But what's the difference? Because you said Ryan produced both of them, correct? Your first, the first 7 songs and then these ones. But in the first one, you were writing with, with Casey Beathard and, bigger names out there. But now you've kind of scaled it back. Do you think that the sound changed specifically because you are working with your friends instead of just taking, big rights?
Oh man. Well, okay. So here's what happens. And Huckleberry's I'm gonna kill him.
That's all right. We like Huckleberry.
Yeah. So here's what happens when you first move to Nashville. You first move to Nashville and people find out you have talent. So people start putting you in the rooms with incredible writers like a Casey Beathard. But what happens is like if you're just new to the game and you're green, you don't really have the artistic talent yet, or artistic wherewithal to know what you want to say. So this sound is so much different than the first one that Ryan also produced, because I've developed as a person, as an artist so much. Ryan and I kind of did the same thing the first time. It's just I've like being in rooms with guys like Casey Beathard, I've learned how to craft a song and also do it in a way that's unique to me. It might not be quote unquote like, it's subjective whether it's better or not, but I think as an artist, as you mature, it becomes uniquely you.
Yeah.
And that takes time, and you can't skip that step. Like, and that's why like, I was offered a few deals early on, and it probably would have been really bad, to be honest, just because that development process where that's one thing about Casey Musgraves. You can love her, you can hate her, but like she is who she is. And like I think that's I just think that takes time to get there. Other than if you don't take the time to get there, then you just end up sounding like somebody else.
Yeah. I love that you made that comment about how when you first got to town and, people are seeing that you're talented and they're putting you in rooms with bigger artists. I always think back to, I heard Ryan Hurd talking about how when you move to Nashville, don't ever jump in rooms with people who are, big writers, because you're not going to write your best song and they're not going to write their best song, because you guys aren't on even playing field. It's not that you're not good. It's just like you said, you had to take time to kind of grow as a person and grow as a writer and, you know, become who you are. And I love that that's what your sound is now.
Yeah. I mean, thank you first, but yeah, it's a weird, art is a weird thing just because it's so, there's no rules, you know, there's no rules there. And I think oftentimes when it becomes corporate, it can feel like there are rules, but man, the best stuff, and you're right when you said earlier, like there's so many people now that are really freaking good. You know, it also ups the game. For a number of years, it was like the same type of song was getting cut, the same type of song was getting famous on radio and stuff. But now it's like, it's almost like some music with substance is now hot. You know, like thanks to guys like Luke Combs, and you know, I love what Morgan Wallen's doing. Like, I'm not those guys, but like I totally appreciate that. Like, man, holy crap, this is like real good country music, and this is like mainstream. This is dope. Like, I can totally get down with that.
I always think about somebody like Ingrid Andress, who, like, you know, More Hearts Than Mine is such a powerful song, and that's not a song that you would have heard 5 years ago on country radio, let alone that's getting cut, you know?
Right. And now it was a number one, wasn't it?
Yeah, and she's up for 3 Grammys too.
Yeah, my buddy, speaking of lonely, the song Lonely Drive from Intermission, I wrote it with a guy named Ryan Lafferty, and he wrote, what's her song, The Stranger?
Yep. That's the title record, the title track off the record.
Yeah. He wrote her song, The Stranger. And she deserves to get to the top and more.
She's from here too. So we
really
her on our station. Yeah, she's from Highlands Ranch. So her dad was a personal trainer for the Rockies, for the Colorado Rockies.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. Crazy.
What a story. Yeah.
For sure. Go ahead, KJ. Sorry.
No.
People off.
No, this is great. I'm just like listening to this conversation because it's phenomenal. It's awesome to have you on, Raleigh. It's, you know, like you just blew me away because I didn't know what to expect because I didn't know much of you until Braley introduced me to you. And you know, I want to go a little bit off topic. What position did you play in football?
I was the tight end.
Tight end. I was going to say linebacker. I was like, you look kind of like a linebacker. So
I was too soft to be a linebacker.
You had soft hands, though, right?
Yeah, I was a tight end, and I played 3 years and got hurt my last year. Had shoulder surgery in college, and
it's a blessing,
dude.
I'll look at you.
That's got through, man. I just needed that degree.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
very cool.
You made a comment earlier about how when you first got to town, you had been offered a few deals, and you know, you are an independent artist. Now, would you, looking back now, would you think, okay, now maybe it's time to sign a publishing deal? You know, maybe it's time to start putting feelers out for record deals, or is it something you're just going to keep driving on as an independent artist?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I mean, I've met with the labels.
As everybody usually does.
Yeah. And I have good relationships with them. But honestly, like, everything is so accessible via the internet. Like, it's insane. Like, Braley, think about this. Like, you found out my music for free on Twitter. I think it was something crazy. Like,
you followed me. We follow mutual people, I think. And then you followed me, and that's how this all has came about.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Like, it's so insane where it's like, in the past, you had to have a record label to even release music at all, which is insane to me to think now. But I mean, I would totally sign a deal if it was the right deal with the right part. Like, my biggest thing that I'm really scared of is like having creative power taken from me. Like, that doesn't mean I'm like, I'm not some, I am kind of a Nazi. Never mind. Yeah, I am. That's like, if I'm gonna, I'm so passionate about music and what I do that, man, if I can't honestly like put something out and be like, I freaking love this myself, like no record label, I'm not going to sell a record. No one's going to care about it because I'll suck so bad at promoting it. You know what I mean? Like I'll be horrible at it because I just can't. It's like, if I'm going to leave my family on the weekends and tour 200 dates a year, you better believe I'm going to love what I'm doing. You
Absolutely.
know?
You made a comment there about how you wouldn't push it if it wasn't something you believed in. And I have to, and I told KJ this the other day, you are probably one of the most active people on Twitter, on Instagram with your fans, and you're absolutely genius. And I don't know if many people notice this, and maybe it's just a nerdy thing, but you will jump in other people's tweets in their comments and reply to things. Like Morgan Wallen had tweeted something out and a girl said something and you saw it and you replied to her. And then there was a whole thread of all these Morgan Wallen fans going back and forth with you, which is genius.
Yeah. I mean, there's little tactics like that. I mean, you got to think like, man, I don't have $1 million budget behind me and radio promotion behind me. So like, I've got to be a hustler. Like I got to go out there and talk to people and like get like, that's the whole thing. Like who gives a crap? Like if I can write good songs, if I'm not connecting with people, that's the job, that's the name of the game, is connection with people. Like, that's everything. I think that's our entire business model. Like people are the business.
Yeah, I had seen your tweet the other day when the Spotify Wraps came out, and I took a screenshot of it and put it in my notes here because I thought it was really important to say how things work for people like you. And that's what we want to do here on the Hook Podcast, is shout out people like you who are in town. You're insanely creative. You're insanely talented. And you're pushing as hard as, if not harder, than the Luke Combses, then some of these guys have teams, like you said, that have $1 million budget to push. And you had tweeted and you said, here's why this tweet is important. I don't have a label. I don't have a radio team, and I don't have a publicist. I just have you. And you had 2.3 million streams in 91 countries this year on Spotify. I mean, congratulations, man.
Thank you. That is a weird thing it's a weird thing when, I mean, like I have a long ways to go, but it's a weird thing where I mean, I can remember like even 2 years ago, I drove my band in a mid-sized truck, 28 hours to North Dakota, and played to one person for 4 hours, and they didn't clap one time. And I mean that, not one time. They did not clap one time, 4 hours straight. And like having memories like that, and then it's like, oh man, this is like finally starting to work. It's like, this is finally starting to work. Like people are, but once again, it goes back to like, it takes time. Like there is almost certainly the worst thing that could happen to somebody right now is like they blow up on TikTok with one song and they've got nothing to follow it. Like, and it's great that they have that attention. Like TikTok's a great tool for that. But like, if you're not there artistically, like your career, that was your moment. It's gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why I mean, like, it's like, I'm glad that, I have been writing songs for 3 years and just keep grinding. I'm more on like the slow grind up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
what would you say as you said, you're writing songs for 3 years. What is your day-to-day in Nashville then?
Well, it used to be meetings and writes in person all the time. Now it's all on this phone here. I mean, I've written more songs this year than any year since I've moved. And that's just because there's nothing else to do. I mean, I probably have 300 songs in my phone.
You're not even trying to hit a draw. That's the best part.
I know, exactly. Exactly. But now it's like, I mean, it's a little strange too. Cause like, for example, when we finished these songs, meeting with publishers and labels on Zoom is super, super strange. It's like, hey, do you like, they're making their judgments on you via like a phone screen. It's super weird.
It's got to be so strange because sitting in those rooms is it's already scary enough when you're sitting at the end of the table and you're like, everybody's kind of doing this. And it's on the loudspeaker and you're just kind of like, okay, you're trying not to do this the whole time and gaze the room. On Zoom, it's got to be even worse.
Oh, it's way worse. It's way worse. I mean, yeah, even in person, like most A&R teams, like they give you the Stone Cold Steve Austin. They're just looking at you. Like you could be Chris Stapleton, go in there and sing Tennessee Whiskey for the first time. Like no one's ever heard him do it. And they would just look at you like this. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
And that's their job.
Yes.
Their job is to hold their cards in because,
yeah.
They're making deals. Like they're the money people. So.
Awesome. So it seems like you have a lot on the horizon. So what's next for you? What are you looking to do in the near future? You mentioned a full length album.
Yeah. So this is, I've already started my next thing too. So
perfect. You're not a TikTok superstar.
Nice.
That's right. That's right. I'm not. Oh, do you think I was going to say I want to get big on TikTok?
No. You're just prepared. You're more prepared than everybody else on TikTok.
Oh my gosh, dude. No. Yeah. So I got 14 songs coming out and I've already got the bones of my next project done, which I'll just tell you guys, it's going to be called A Tale of Seven Cities. And it's each title has a city name in it. And it's just all different stories from different cities. And that's going to be my next project that I just started. But yeah, I'm quite excited for this next one. I'm going to probably be releasing a song a month for a little bit and then release the whole record.
Smart.
But the next one comes out January 15th.
Any cities we know about? Any cities out west?
Yeah, there's LA's in this project, New York, Lexington, Memphis, Paris, Tucson. I tried to write. I almost did Denver. I should have done Denver. I'll just redo Denver and send it to y'all.
Perfect. It'll be our intro song.
There you go.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of what's on the horizon, and just keep growing, keep moving.
We're super honored to have you on our podcast and be our first guest, which is really cool to have somebody with a story like yours. And we didn't really get too deep into it, but you were born in prison, which is crazy. Just the story, and really cool to see that you saw the good side of that. Cause I know someone who was adopted and they didn't see the good side of it. And so it's really cool to see that for you, and just super honored to have you on this podcast. And you're such a bright, shining star of what I want to see from Nashville. And I want to see more singer-songwriters like yourself continue to get what you deserve. So thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate you.
Well, that was very kind of you to say, and thank you for having me. You guys asked awesome questions, so good job on your keep doing what you're doing.
And where can people find you, man? As we're finishing up here, we want to grow that 2.3 million streams up to 5, 6, 7, 8 million. Not that we have that reach, but you never know.
Can find me on find me on TikTok. I'm kidding.
Go ahead. What's your handle?
You can find me on everything at Raleigh Keegan. It's the same handle. It's spelled like the city, North Carolina. Raleigh Keegan, Keegan, and I'm on everything.
And trust me, he's very easy to get a hold of, and super nice guy, super fun just to watch your interactions on Twitter too. I absolutely, that always cracks me up every time. I'm like, oh, what's he up to today? Whose feed did he sneak into today?
That's right.
Oh man. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and we really appreciate it. And as the new stuff comes out, let's chat again. Let's get you back on, and we'll start chatting about the new record. As you said, you're putting out stuff once a month until the whole record comes out. And then as you start the next project, let's jump in there, and don't forget to write that Denver song.
Deal.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it.